Welcome, modern day mystics, fellow truth seekers, James and Justin, back again with another reaction. And this time we're going to be looking at some Norse mythology. This is like the first time we've ever looked at any of this.
Norse.
Yeah, and this is specifically revolved around Odin, who I think is like the chief god in Norse mythology. And this is done by the Exploring Series YouTube channel.
All right.
The one-eyed god, the wanderer, the Allfather, Odin. Many pantheons of deities, both fictional and from real-world mythologies, feature a singular god that acts as a king or leader over many other gods. In Norse mythology, this god is Odin, the Allfather, a central figure in the mythology and lord of many of the other deities in the pantheon. Odin was seemingly an important figure in the religions of certain Germanic peoples for centuries, and divided between all of his different aspects and representations, is known by over 200 different names. This video will focus on the various tales associated with Odin, as described by different Icelandic texts from around the 1200s. The authenticity of these texts in regard to the actual beliefs of the North Germanic peoples is a subject for debate. Within Norse mythology,
maybe it's just like me stereotyping here, but the fact that like Odin, the chief god, looks like an Icelandic being, it reminds me of, like God creating us in his own image and stuff like that. Or is it the reverse, us creating God the way we think God should look?
Right. What's the thing that people say? To a bumblebee, God looks like a bee or whatever. To a water buffalo, God looks like a water buffalo.
Yeah.
Odin likely represents more attributes and concepts than any other deity, being associated with war, death, royalty, wisdom, knowledge, sorcery, and poetry. At the beginning of time, there were two realms, one filled with cold mist, and the other with raging flames, and a primordial void between the two. Eventually, the two intermingling elements combined in the void, and formed the first Jotun, Ymir, also known as a giant. Along with Ymir, there was also a giant cow that he suckled on for nourishment, and from his sweat came more giants, the Jotnar. The cow, on the other hand, licked the salt from the nearby ice, and from this licking came the first Aesir god, known as Buri. He had a son, who in turn married a Jotun, who gave birth to 3 sons, one of whom was Odin. Odin and his brothers then...
Why are humans so smart? Why are we so intelligent, and why are we so damn weird?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, imagine a world with no science, no internet, no library, no shit.
Yeah.
And sitting around, and you would be like, what are trees? What are they? What are you talking about? They make wood. We build stuff out of them. But, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's remarkable the way that the things that we do choose to make stories out of. And then when you look at other religions that were developing around the same time, similar concepts from across the planet.
Yeah.
Because we're humans.
Yeah. There's a lot tied in here with I'm thinking, like, there's a few things I'm thinking of is like, okay, it looks like polytheistic religion, right? Mm-hmm. And then it's stemming out of what I would, probably classify as stage red spiral dynamic culture. And the levels, it's interesting, the levels, how it's like this thing begets this thing, which begets this thing. And like, look at the levels of stories, starting to...
But how did they choose that? Why were they like, and there's a simplistic version, because cows had meat and everyone knows what a cow is. That's why they picked a cow.
Yeah.
But you don't really, like, what happens when you break these things apart and you think about the symbolic nature of these stories?
Yeah.
And slew Ymir, the primordial giant, and the great rushing of blood that flooded from his body drowned the great cow, as well as the rest of the Jotnar, except for 2. These 2 went on to repopulate the race of giants. Odin and his brothers then took the corpse of Ymir and used it to help create the earth, using his flesh to make the soil, his bones to make mountains, and his teeth to make boulders and stones. They used his skull to create the sky, and sparks from the realm of fire to make the sun, moon, and stars. They created a race of light elves and a world for them, as well as the dark elves deep under the earth. They made sprites, spirits, and animals to inhabit the earth, and then they needed something to worship them, so they created humans. They built a fence using Ymir's eyebrows around the earth to protect the humans from the Jotnar, and finally they created the realm of Asgard, high above the world so that they could watch over their creation. He also married Frigg, who is said to know the fate of all, but says nothing of it. Odin fathered a number of sons, although exactly how many is unknown. Among these, he is the father of Thor, god of thunder, and Balder, god of light. He also took note of a certain Jotun that was capable of taking any shape he wished, to a far greater extent than other giants, known as Loki. Odin liked Loki's wit and charm, and asked him to become a blood brother, to which Loki agreed. The two swore to be true brothers to one another, and Odin brought Loki into Asgard, where he was accepted by the others. Loki, however,
That's kind of a different story than the Marvels one.
Yeah.
developed a great reputation as a spiteful trickster, trusted by neither the gods nor the giants, but always managed to talk his way back into their good graces. In these days, Odin would often walk among the humans in the disguise of a wise old wanderer, testing the hospitality of those he visits. He also utilized two ravens, Hugin and Munin, who traveled the world daily to provide him with information, giving him the name of Raven God. Odin was a relentless pursuer of wisdom and knowledge, and would sacrifice much in these pursuits. On one occasion, Odin went to the world tree, Yggdrasil, and hung himself from its branches for 9 days before finally learning the secrets of runic letters.
That's kind of a recurring theme, going to a tree to gain knowledge.
Yeah.
What the heck, man? These are like repeating themes.
Yeah, separated by vast lands and different cultures.
Yeah.
One thing that was kind of notable, it was interesting how Odin was coming down, spending time with the humans, wanting to see if they would help him out as like an old feeble man. Wonder if there's some type of morality there. And what's with that in kind of like, seems like some religious belief that is very dark and bloody and wrath. Like, look how it all started, right? By like killing giants and forming everything out of the giant.
That's what I mean. Like, it would be so neat to get a solid idea of how humans became what we are, like the neocortex, where we're so intelligent, right? And abstract. And it's almost like these religions are always stretching up to something higher, but grounded in the reality of survival, right? Like, we have to kill things to eat, and we have to kill each other for territory,
But notice the brutality of it and how it almost seems like as we look back into our past, the farther we go back when it comes to like gods and religions, the more brutal it is.
Yes.
And they become less and less brutal.
Yeah, but the reoccurring themes are like Loki's the devil. The tree is like, reminds me of Buddha going to the Bodhi tree and meditating under it till he became enlightened.
Or the tree in the garden.
Or the tree in the garden. Like, there's this thing with you go to the tree for knowledge.
Yeah.
And, that's a good point, too. What you said is the further you go back with these religions, the wilder and more violent and stuff. And then it's like the evolution of religions. As new prophets arrive over thousands of years, the message gets softer and more like, aim a little higher. You want to be gentle because of this. And, the real problem is your selfishness about everything, So, interesting.
Yeah.
These runes contained great power, and with their magic, he became the wisest and mightiest being in the cosmos. This, however, was not enough for Odin, and he craved more knowledge. From his throne, he spied upon the realm of the savage Jotnar, and noticed one that was very wise. This giant controlled a well of wisdom, where one of Yggdrasil's roots ended, and drank its waters every day to become ever wiser. Odin went to this Jotun, asking for a single drink from the well. The giant agreed, but only if Odin shared his all-seeing vision with him. Odin promptly plucked out one of his own eyes, placing it in the well before having a drink. From then on, he possessed only a single eye, but was truly the wisest of the wise. As life continued on Earth, and the gods continued to battle against the Jotnar, Odin's son Balder began to be troubled by ominous dreams that saw his life threatened. Due to the machinations of Loki, Balder was eventually killed, seemingly through an accident. Although none suspected Loki of playing a part in his death, his jealousy and spite eventually got the best of him, and he admitted openly to being responsible before fleeing. The gods demanded punishment of Loki from Odin, who used his all-seeing sight to locate him. The Aesir captured Loki and tortured him, bringing guilt to Odin for breaking his bond of kinship with Loki. This broken oath, among others in Asgard, led the gods to the events of Ragnarok, meaning doom of the gods, or twilight of the gods. Rather than being an apocalyptic end of days, Ragnarok instead foretold the end of a cycle of time, which would be followed by a rebirth, and eventually, another Ragnarok. For the Aesir gods, however, they knew their days were limited, Odin especially. Yggdrasil began to wilt, and brother turned against brother in this time of imminent destruction. Odin and the Aesir gathered as many strong and brave warriors as possible in the halls of Valhalla, and the Jotnar were growing ever bolder in their attacks. It was a hard time in the world of men, with death and depravity rampant, an age of axe and sword, with a deadly winter and the world waiting to fall into ruin.
Makes me wonder about what was going on in the time, because I bet you back in the day and age when this was all going on, the people, the Norsemen, were probably waging wars with other villagers and stuff like that. So there's probably a lot of like relatability going on in here, and like honor, like what like the gods are doing, like, and comparison, like, see, you know, the gods are at war, we're at war, and we're fighting whatever, you know, tribes would be fighting with other tribes.
Yeah, and I wonder if they had like kind of like a seer to articulate all this stuff. Like, was there a specific person that gave this message? You know, like a shaman of the Norse people, that would like drink a crazy drink or something and then come back with visions of this.
Yeah, this isn't getting into that, but I suspect that
like there's always like a Lucinian mysteries thing going on. You know, like there's always like a potion that somebody's just delegated to like come up with the stories, you know, shamanistic member. Interesting how that character shows up too, like among the people. Yeah.
Finally, Ragnarok had come. The greatest battle that history could muster took place, and although Odin led a vast host of warriors into the war, he himself was swallowed up by the dread wolf Fenrir. In the end, the Aesir lost the battle, and the world was plunged into darkness as Yggdrasil broke and fell. And in time, a new day dawned, and the next cycle began, but people did not forget the deeds of the gods. Of course, there are a number of smaller tales related to Odin beyond just these. Stories of his relentless pursuit of wisdom, and his wanderings across the realms. These tales showcase Odin's imperfections and similarities to mortals, his willingness to trick or deceive others, and his legendary wisdom. Odin is the patron of many, from kings to outlaws, poets to berserkers, shamans to seers. Odin represents those who are willing to work and sacrifice to obtain that which they desire, and welcomed only the most worthy of warriors into his hall of Valhalla. The Norsemen were a hardy and capable people, and it is likely that their belief in figures such as Odin pushed them to continue to pursue strength and wisdom, much like the Allfather.
Seems kind of like Odin was like the Superman of those days too, like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you get the sense that, you know, when comic books were first coming out and stuff, they were like an advanced version of Greek mythology or something, and like these characters that people could like, I want to be like Hercules, like a guy who takes on monsters with a smile, you know? And what if there's a little bit of that with Odin too? Like, this is the guy we all want to be like, you know, like this character.
I wonder if there's any like Norsemen left. If you're out there, let us know. How has this story evolved? Like, because like this brought upon a new age of Ragnarok or whatever. Like, where are we in that cycle? Are there people that are still deeply entrenched in this still to this day?
Another repeating thing, the apocalypse or Ragnarok or the end of world, that keeps coming up as a subject across everything.
For some reason, I was thinking of the age of Kali Yuga or whatever.
Yeah, right. The end of an age and the dawn of a new one, which is accurate. Things are like that.
Cyclical cycles.
Yeah.
And I guess last thing, the big emphasis, I think, with Odin was his quest for wisdom and the sacrifice. I think that's a symbol, the whole giving up one eye for wisdom, because you only get two, baby. Like, you know, giving up, you gave up one for wisdom.
It's symbolic because, like, the way I could be wrong, but I imagine that him giving up that eye was both a sacrifice and is symbolic of having like singular vision now. Like not. I don't even have two eyes to lead me astray. I see with one.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Cool. I don't know. Let us know, guys. Cool stuff. Hope you enjoyed this reaction. If you did, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, share with a friend, and everybody. Until next time, stay spiritual.